It's like, like leaving the lights on an empty room, right? Unused storage, idle VMs, they all add to your bill. So regular cleanup in your cloud environment to eliminate those unnecessary costs.
And that really sometimes can save them, up to 50%, depending on if they do a 1 or a 3 year commit. So there are some other really cool tools on the GCP console that a lot of customers are unaware of.
I have with me today the customer success team from Zazmic, Courtney and Rushelle. I'm not going to take a lot of time. Courtney and Rushelle, tell us a bit about how you both found yourself in customer success and what exactly are you guys responsible for? Rushelle, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. I'm Rushelle Forsman. I'm excited to be here. A couple years ago, I started out as a BDR in sales for GCP. Something, always felt a bit off. I realized I was more passionate about, building long-term relationships and helping customers succeed rather than just, closing deals. So I made the switch to customer success and I've never looked back, actually. So I've been here, customer success manager at Zazmic for almost 2 years now. It's been, incredibly rewarding to see our customers grow and thrive on GCP. And, our goal really as a customer success manager is to be the customer's dedicated partners throughout their Google Cloud journey. Providing support, expertise, and guidance every step of the way.
It's amazing. And I'm Courtney Bledsoe. I've been with Zazmic for 3 years, over 3 years now. And like Rushelle, I just found myself, this customer success job just kind of fell in my lap. But I've always known that I love helping people, and my goal is just to make sure that our customers, we put them first and that we want to make sure that they achieve their goals. And really customer retention is really my big focus in making sure they stay happy on GCP with Zazmic and that we can just fulfill their needs as much as possible.
Yeah, awesome. Now, before we go ahead a bit more deeper into customer success, I do want to kind of zoom out and take a look at the term itself, because what we've heard more of is the term customer support, which was perhaps more reactive to what the customer was doing, as opposed to customer success, where you guys are more involved and more proactive in ensuring that they have a better experience. Can you talk a bit about what your work looks like? How do you kind of integrate that proactiveness into your daily work life?
I would say that making sure that you're consistently reaching out to your customers. Like I said, customer retention. We also can create, upsell opportunities, making sure that the customer knows what products are out there on Google Cloud, making sure they're taking full advantage of credit programs. So we just need to be making sure that our customers understand all the benefits that we can provide to them, along with, improving customer satisfaction and loyalty, along with just making sure that they're happy, satisfied, and wanting to continue the business with us in a partnership.
Yeah, and Rushelle, I'll put a slightly different question to you, and that's also that distinction between customer success in a tech versus a non-tech company. Zazmic, of course, being on the tech and SaaS side. Would you say there's any particular differences with how the kind of customers you're dealing with when it comes to tech companies? Are there certain approaches that work better? Tell us a bit about your experience on the tech side of customer success.
So one of the biggest differences in the nature of customer, partnership relationship in tech, especially with the SaaS, it's often an ongoing subscription model. I would say customer success is heavily focused on retention, like Courtney said, reducing churn and ensuring customers continuously get value from the product. In non-tech industries, say the relationship might be more transactional, focused on a single, project or purchase.
I would tag on to that, saying that Rushelle and I, there's always something that's coming up new with tech, right? So it's an ongoing learning process. And I think we both in our roles separately have learned so much about the tech industry. And, now with AI and Gen AI, like all coming to the forefront, those are hot buzzwords now, but we're consistently learning. And our team that we work with our customer engineers, we are, learning just as much from the tech side as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think we're at a point where we perhaps need to look beyond traditional metrics about how customer success or what is considered a successful customer success manager or whatever the term would be. But where do you see it going beyond that? I mean, we typically look at churn rates as something which is sometimes the most important metric, but I'm sure there's a lot of things which you guys are looking at. Courtney, you mentioned earlier about customer satisfaction. I want you to kind of open up those terms as well, because of course, who doesn't like a happy customer, but how do you find that out? What are your ways of keeping that in check?
I think making sure, right, like even if you have a challenging customer, making sure that you are being attentive to the actual needs and their requests. And even if you can't answer the challenge and get it consistently done, at least you're proactively reaching out, making sure they're aware that you're working on the problem, that you're consistently supporting them. And then if you do get a favorable outcome with the challenge, that just makes the customer even more loyal. And I think they appreciate that you worked so hard for them, for their benefit.
I guess I could
Yeah,
go ahead. So I say like the quality, right, of engagement, not just the quantity. It's not about just about how often they log in or how they're using specific features or services. I would say like I said, checking in basically, and the view of their engagement helps us identify potential like roadblocks and customer feedback, like Courtney said too, support tickets and even social media to gauge overall health of the customer.
Yeah, and I really want to solidify a lot of these things you've said with perhaps an example or a case. Is there something you guys can share with the audience about specific cases where, and of course we realize there are NDAs and whatnot, but giving away as much as we can, are there any examples you can share of difficult situations with customers which you came across?
I guess I can come up with one. I know we had a client, a small startup, of course, who was struggling to get traction with their product, with their project. They were close to churning. We realized they weren't using a key feature that would have made a huge difference for them. And when I say we, I say just me. Of course, it's a whole team effort. We did a personalized walkthrough, showed them how it worked, and of course, their engagement skyrocketed, and they not only stayed on but became one of our biggest advocates.
And I would say I have another case where we always have to be very careful around security. And one of our customers did not have the security in place. And, some hacker got into their system, into their platform and spent, I think, over $250K in like 3 days. Like it was a very big spike in their GCP cloud, usage. And we were able to walk them through how to shut everything down, making sure that we were able to get back most of those funds for them because it was an external terrible event that happened. So we were able, and they're still customers today because we were able to help them out so proficiently.
I really want to get a bit deeper into these cases. You guys have kind of glossed over them, but I think these were a lot more. There's so much more value we can get out of these, which might have been like a part of your job. But I mean, both cases seem so significant. One was like an almost churning customer, so like having to change your mind in that. I don't know how whether we'll be able to achieve that result, which I'm hoping for, but. Do you remember what you were feeling in that moment? How did you, because again, like it's easy to give a structure and a list of things to do in this case, but let's bring in the human factor here.
So
What did you do?
I freaked out. I saw that huge spike I think it was within the first 48 hours. We saw and that's the part of Rochelle and I's job is making sure, right, we're watching everybody's spend, making sure we don't see those types of events happen. And I literally freaked out because I was like, I don't know what's going on, what's happening. So we, obviously reached out to the customer and said, this is going on. We need to shut things down immediately. I have no idea what's happening, but let's get to the bottom of it. And I will say, thankfully for Google, they were amazing and they were able to help us, recoup those costs. And so I have to also give credit back to Google that they did the right thing in giving the refunds back to the customer. But it took a very long time, and it was very tedious to get all of the information, right? The start date, the end date, who did it, all the API calls that were taken out. So it was tedious, but at the same time, it was a very traumatic event when I found it.
Yeah, I mean, it's perhaps a lot more scarier for the customer who probably would have had to pay $250,000.
Absolutely, and they couldn't because they're a small startup.
Yeah, what was the communication you were having with them? And if I'm wondering if Rochelle was there as well, because Rochelle was there during that time. I'm wondering if she could give us a bit of insight about how you were during that time when this problem was being sorted. I mean, from the third party view, she might have seen, you do certain things which helped her later on. I'm just thinking out loud. But why don't you go ahead and share the communication you had with the customer at that time?
Panic, like she said, when you see something like that, your instant is like, what's going on? Let's get to the bottom of the problem. So reaching out to the customer first off and saying, hey, what's going on? But getting Google involved to get, adjustments back. We've had a couple of those customers that's happened to. So I think that plays a huge part in our role to keep an eye on their billing console and help them keep track of those costs and those spends.
And I think it was a good learning process for all of us too, and the steps that we had to take. We now document when something like that happens. We have a whole document in place about all the information that we need to collect. So we have learned from that experience.
Oh, definitely.
Rochelle, do you want to talk more about your customer, or even perhaps bring another case if you have?
There's quite a few. I guess I can piggyback off that one. This one customer was basically not wanting to stay with GCP. They were just having a hard time. They were wanting to switch over, churn, right? And so of course, panic. I didn't want them to leave. So getting the Google team involved as well helped. And as a team, we just kind of made sure that they stayed sticky to GCP and helped them with their project and made sure that they figured it all out, basically, because that's kind of where they're at. They didn't have enough people on their team either. So that was a huge thing. They didn't have enough employees, enough staff to help navigate and figure things out within their projects. So we helped with that.
Yeah, I appreciate you both for sharing both those examples. And in order to kind of have that customer-centric culture within an organization, I mean, that's what you really need to be able to authentically show that to customers as well, or give that sort of experience to customers. I'm wondering if you can share a bit more about what it's like in your team. What within the team allows you to have that customer-centric approach?
I would say making sure they're set up properly from the very beginning. And I think, anytime we onboard a new customer, our whole team is involved, from the architect, the head architect, to the customer engineers, making sure and for them to gain the most success with us on GCP. I would say that it's a full team effort, and we're always bouncing ideas off of each other, if that's through chat or, one-on-one meetings. But I think really the success of our customers comes from our whole team effort and making sure we're giving the customer every opportunity to be super successful on GCP. I think just making sure they're set up properly from the very beginning, and making sure if they don't have the right team in place, like how can we help? Do you need somebody to as a staff member to augment their team, or suggest what they may need in the future if they can't afford it at the current time.
I would
Michelle,
agree
do
with
you have anything to add?
Yeah, making, definitely like the very beginning, making them feel special and valued, sitting down with the customers, understanding their goals right from the get-go. What's their desired outcome? Once you know their objectives, you can kind of tailor their onboarding process to help them reach their milestones. I think that's huge. It's kind of like the first day of school, right? Like when you're in preschool, you want to have a good first day. Not overwhelming them, of course, at the beginning, creating that I would say human touch too, as far as like they're just not a sales, right? So onboarding is about building a strong foundation, I guess, for a long-lasting customer relationship.
Yeah, and sometimes we do have to do a lot of hand-holding because, sometimes the CEO or the founder is not super technical. And then if they don't have a CTO or anything like that, making sure that we're putting all those pieces in place and doing a lot of hand-holding from the beginning. And if they have a CTO and is very knowledgeable, like it makes the process super fun to make sure that they understand, especially if they're coming from another cloud platform and they have questions around GCP. Just making sure they understand all the services and products that are available to them.
Yeah, I love the example Rochelle used of a child going to nursery. It's a fearful experience. There's a lot of curiosity to, a lot of hope too. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. Essentially, an important part of your job within customer success is dealing with Google customers. Kind of making sure that they're managing their costs well, optimizing their Google Cloud platform. Could you talk a bit about that? You can kind of get into the details of how you're helping customers within the Google Cloud platform.
I would say helping out like with optimization. We could do you set up a call with them and kind of go through their services if they're struggling with keeping their costs down or trying to figure out how we can help them reduce their costs. That's pretty big. So that's one thing that we do help them with.
I would say sometimes, like if they have instances running, we call it low-hanging fruit, right? Like if there's anything that's running in their system that shouldn't be running, we're making sure we're shutting that down right away. Those are the easiest things and the easiest ways to make sure they're lowering their costs. And then there's also, a couple buttons on the billing reports where you can push for committed use discounts. And sometimes if they're willing to say, yes, I'm gonna spend this much on a product, I will commit to a year of committed use discounts. And that really sometimes can save them, up to 50%, depending on if they do a 1 or a 3 year commit. So there are some other really cool tools on the GCP console that a lot of customers are unaware of. And so when we meet with them one-on-one on a screen sharing call, we say, hey, these are available to you. They just have to be willing to kind of understand how those programs work.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Especially like delete unused resources. It's like, like leaving the lights on an empty room, right? Unused storage, idle VMs, they all add to your bill. So regular cleanup in your cloud environment to eliminate those unnecessary costs.
So that actually brings me to the question I wanted to ask next. For customers, Google Cloud customers, if anyone is watching, what are the 3 things that they can do to save money on their platform? What are kind of the most common things you see that you wish every customer would already know?
I would say right size your resources, delete unused resources, and take advantage of discounts would be some. Basically your cost optimization.
Yeah, and I would say sometimes there are different programs out there that we may not be aware of, credit programs, whatnot, if you are really trying to save and budget for the upcoming year. There's also, just making sure you're always constantly checking the health of your platform. like Rochelle said, making sure there's not instances or products that you're using that you don't need.
And in their billing console, they have it all right there, right? I mean, they can go in there and it'll tell them, like they have it's the FunOps tab. They can go in there and kind of see how they can save them costs. And then there's a lot of tools right there in the GCP console.
And I think actually Google's coming out now with a Gemini cost tab where Gemini should be able to help with your billing needs and see where you can cut things.
Yeah, awesome. This conversation would just not be complete if we didn't bring in the hot buzzword, which I mean I would argue, and I did in the last podcast, in the first episode, was that perhaps the AI and Gen AI honeymoon phase is kind of past us now, and now we're kind of like sitting out there waiting for results, but also trying to be more practical about it, because I think we've seen how far it can go. I was recently exploring something called Notebook LM, and I shared an example with the team as well. But this podcast could have pretty much been generated, and perhaps in a much cleaner way, by this application called Notebook LM, where you can put in PDFs, you can put in videos or anything, and it will generate an audio conversation between two people. It was mind blowing. And it's out there for everyone to kind of test. You can download those. I mean, I think it's bringing in even those quirks of human conversation was quite crazy. Having said that,
I would say though that like it takes away the human experience at the same time, right? Like it almost would be too programmed a little bit, where I hope that you in this edits that you keep in a couple of our fumbles, right? Because that makes us human. And so I think when you're adding so much artificial intelligence in, it does kind of take away to be relatable. So that's, I think, where customer success and having a team in place for customers to reach out to, it's not going to be super automated. So yes, we do use, Gemini on our team for helping with emails and scheduling meetings and all the things that we love Gemini for. But I definitely still think there is something special about that human touch and experience.
Absolutely. Rochelle, please go ahead.
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off that. I would say definitely needs a balance between, like the human and the touch. Definitely, I would say AI can definitely boost efficiency. Imagine so obviously AI chatbots, right? Answering common questions about fees or transaction status, things like that. That's a win for the customer and the company. But when it comes to complex issues like account security or resolving a dispute transaction, I would say that human touch is essential. Customers want to know, they're dealing with a real person who understands their concerns and can provide personalization.
Yeah, we all get frustrated when we're on a phone call, right? With the automated,
that's exactly
talk to a human.
What I'm thinking. Yeah. So I think by leveraging AI, I would say for what it does best and empowering humans to do what they do best, companies can create a truly exceptional customer experience that's both efficient and empathetic, I think.
Absolutely. I think, McKinsey kind of has reported this, that according to their research, AI will impact 4 industries the most, customer operations being one of them, which includes customer success, of course. And of course, I think in the case that Rochelle just mentioned, especially when it comes to sensitive things like finances, maybe even health in some cases, and then so on and so forth, that human touch does become important. I'll share a personal example here. A very recent one was with finances, and it was just frustration because one side was saying they haven't received the transaction, but the other side had sent it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm there talking to this automated messenger and freaking out. And then I'm getting a message in response which is saying, we understand your frustration. And then at some point I was like, I need to talk to a human.
Do not understand my frustration.
And you're like, human, human. You just keep typing it in there.
Yeah, it's almost more frustrating to to realize that the person in front doesn't feel anything about
Yeah.
your tragic situation. You have mentioned a bit about how you guys are, briefly kind of using AI through Gemini to book meetings, write emails. Can you expand a bit more about where you see this going? Because in customer success, it's perhaps still kind of getting into AI. It certainly wasn't the first thing people were solving with AI. So I'm wondering where you see this going with generative AI coming in. Any kind of ideas on that?
I would say, like, looking ahead, I can see teams becoming more data driven and proactive. Maybe we'll be using AI to anticipate, customer needs, identifying like potential churn risks and personalized interactions at scale.
And
We'll also
upselling opportunities. I think, we can plug in, hey, these are what they're using right now. What does that look like in 6 months? What could we offer?
definitely. Yeah, we'll be also, and focusing on like upskilling, like you said, our team to work efficiently, I would say, with AI, and to focus on those, high value tasks that require human expertise. There's a lot that we can kind of look forward to.
We're also seeing these voice assistants and audio interfaces, which Google has made. Google 6 years ago launched Duplex, which basically can call up and make a reservation for you. That was 6 years ago. With the pace that we're growing at, do you at some point fear or maybe even foresee that customer success could perhaps be replaced with something so advanced that it can even imitate human emotion?
Probably. I'm sure it's already there, right? Like but I would say that our customers really respect and love the fact that they can send us an email and that we respond, in a timely fashion. I know that AI, right, would probably respond within a second of sending an email, but it might not be answering the exact question that they need. So I think there is some human interpretation too, and knowing that our customers have that support when they need it, and really and care about their product as much as we do. I think there's a sense of, we want them to succeed. And I don't know if artificial intelligence, right, also wants them to succeed, or is it just about the numbers? Is it just about the data? Or I have a customer that I actually love their product and I can't wait for the product because I want to go order it, right? So I keep saying, like, let me know when you're soft launching. I want to go order it. So there is that piece where you have that human interaction with your customer, and knowing that they also think their product is awesome and you want to support their product.
So the essence of customer success is essentially to be able to create strong connections with your customers, more than just being able to give them everything they want. It's about having that human connection, sometimes even goes beyond work. As Courtney mentioned, she would go and like order new businesses they were launching. She would order from them. I think that's obviously something AI can't do so far. But it definitely, I think that human connection opens up so much, which AI just simply wouldn't be. Rushelle, I want to ask you about just the uses of AI. What have you so far been able to offload from your processes? Because I'm sure there are a lot of administrative stuff, things happening at the back as well, which perhaps don't at times leave that much time for that human connection, or being able to invest that much time or effort into that. Through Gen AI or AI, what have you been able to offload so far? And in the future, what would you not like to do anymore? What would you want AI to take care of?
I would say honestly, the only thing I've really used in AI is probably more for like emails. I would say the Gemini is pretty much what I've used. But other than that, I haven't really used AI a lot with helping. In the future, I would like to see more, more automation as far as like their data, customers' data, to be more proactive. So we don't have to do like manually go in and look at their data. We do that quite a bit, I'd say. So it'd be nice to get reports, maybe automated reports of the customers to stay ahead of the curve, be more proactive with their costs, things like that.
I think it's hard because our personalities are so hands-on that, you know, it's really difficult to say, oh, I want AI to take care of this for me, even though it's out of my control. I think that's really difficult for both Rochelle and I because we like to be involved in making sure that we're in the details. And so I would say like for AI, definitely like in an instant where there could be a spike or if there was a potential security breach, like that would be amazing to have AI go, hey, there's a trigger right here. Like, let's stay on this and making sure there's an alert set out, something that can be definitely proactive, like Rochelle said.
I agree with that because there's a lot of times when AI comes up with something in the billing console, and I'll double check it anyway because I just like that hands-on. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's right. I don't know why I should double check AI, you know, but.
Awesome. And before we go, and you both can kind of share your wisdom on this, but what are the 3 things or however many things that make a great customer success team?
I would say, let's see, I would say, especially on a team, that you're willing to learn from your mistakes. I think the team effort and willing to bounce things off of each other, like, hey, I'm having a problem with this. How would you solve this? Being able to be open and communicative. And definitely when you make mistakes, hey, how can I do this better next time? And I definitely think like our whole team, not just the customer success team, is involved in the wins of our customer. So that comes from, you know, the head architect, the customer engineer, the marketing team, right? We all kind of put our heads together. And I think that's what makes us very successful as a group.
I agree. Communication is really big, really huge. And it takes a team, right? It's not just one person. And I think embracing the continuous learning, I would say, being a customer's advocate, build your network, embrace change, like Courtney said, and learning, continuously learning from everybody too, not just yourself, continuing learning from mistakes that you make and from other people, your colleagues.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure speaking to you both. Thank you for sharing about your experience working in customer success and how teams can leverage AI rather than having that fear of being replaced by it, but rather using it as a tool and still maintaining that balance of efficiency and having that human touch. Thank you to everyone who's listening. Until next time, bye-bye.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.